Opal Wilson, the Democratic candidate for 3rd District County Council, was unable to attend the taping session. As a result, only her opponent will appear.
I'm Winfield Dick Jacobs, and I'm seeking the County Council seat, District 3, on the Republican ticket.
What are your qualifications for this office?
My qualifications stem mainly from my work background at RCA for 28 years. I've officiated athletic events for the same period of time in Indiana, and also some college work. I helped to originate the Mid-States Officials Association. I've been active in the Little League and Babe Ruth League in the Ellisville area, and also helped them start their Little League program in Bloomington also.
Okay. If you are elected, what are the major goals you would try to achieve through your office or position?
Well, I think to have the efficiency at its peak in Monroe County would be the objective.
Okay. How do you feel county government space needs can best be met?
Well, there's no hard and fast answer on that yet without some studies and review of what's really needed. I think you have to look at space requirements that are demanding and space requirements that are desired. The demands needs to be worked on immediately, and to say that one system is better than another way wouldn't really be a very good answer at this time. But I would say that I think we need to keep the offices together in one location.
Okay. How would you propose to improve the county's solid waste disposal system?
I'm not certain that I have the answer to that at all, but I do have some propositions that I think should be examined, and one is we need to try to utilize our solid waste if we possibly can. Without utility of waste, we're going to continue to fill up the land area, and naturally that restricts the use of that land area until it has a chance to decay. Another thing that I think is vitally important is that Monroe County commissioners or the lawmakers should make a law restricting outside cities or people coming in and using our land area for landfills.
H. Franklin Richardson, the Democratic candidate for 4th District County Councilman, was unable to attend the taping session. As a result, only his opponent will appear.
My name is Rodney Young, and I'm seeking the County Council office for the 4th District on the Republican ticket. I'm a lifelong resident of Monroe County. I'm a young person, 27, but I feel that I'm old enough to serve on the County Council as an active member. I'm relatively concerned with what the council does and how it affects the county and the people who live here in the county. I've worked the past 5 years as an apartment manager, dealing mainly with the public. There were about 600 people that lived in the apartment complex, and I was able to, I worked there 5 years, and we kept most of the people happy, and I know what it's like to deal with the public, and I wish to carry this on into the council.
Okay, if you are elected, what are the major goals you would try to achieve through your office or position?
The main thing I'd like to do is to see, I want to be able to come back theoretically and say 20 or 30 years and have the county still here things running smoothly. I'd like to see more foresight in what happens in the county. I think we need to do more planning for the future rather than for the present, rather than wait until something goes wrong and try and take care of it, to try and think it out somewhat and try and plan more for the future rather than the present.
Okay, how do you feel the county government space needs can best be met?
That's a difficult question. I think there are a couple of things involved that should be discussed before you can give a straight answer. I think you need to look at how much space is required now. Is that space required now? You know, do we need as much space as what we have now? And then get some type of projection for the future, and then base the idea of whether you need a city-county building on how much space is actually going to be required. I personally would be in favor of a city-county building, but I'm not in favor of Unigov. I'd like to see more cooperation between the city and the county. They're like brother and sister, and you can't have one without the other. It's like having a left hand and a right hand. You need to know what both hands are doing.
Okay. What steps do you feel the county government can take to stimulate economic growth in Monroe County?
I think this is very important, especially with the decline in enrollment with the university. The university is obviously the largest industry that the county has and will continue to be so, but if there's going to be a drop in the number of students enrolled for a period of time, we need to take this up in the form of some type of industry. I'm in favor of getting business to come into the community, you know, some type of industry that wouldn't necessarily disturb a lot of what we already have. You know, I don't want a refinery or, you know, something on that order, but a small manufacturing place or you know, some other type of centralized stores, I think would benefit the county quite a bit. The city has done, you know, they've had several directors and, you know, several groups of people involved to stimulate the economy. Some of them have done more work than others, and we're having, I think now, a little bit more input as far as people that are coming down. Bloomington is a fantastic location as far as recreation and educational and cultural things, and the people that live here. I've talked to a number of people who have retired to Bloomington because it is such a nice community, and I think we need to keep it that way.
Okay, my name's William Brown. I'm age 35. I'm running in a Democrat Party, my second term for the office of sheriff.
I'm Randy Williamson. I'm running for Monroe County Sheriff on the Republican ticket, and I live here in Bloomington at 930 Ransom Lane.
Qualifications would be, I spent 9 years here as deputy sheriff, working in every department, including the detective division, communications department. I spent some time with the jail staff, serving the last 4 years as county sheriff.
I have several qualifications dealing from formal to advanced training, some including police supervision through Indiana University, situational training for patrol officers through Indiana University. I'm a graduate of Indiana University in 1972. I've attended Vincennes University also in business. Have advanced Red Cross first aid training. Have waterfront safety instructor, which deals with scuba diving also. Have training in personal defense and crowd control. I have Federal Bureau of Investigation advanced and basic latent fingerprint classification qualifications. I also have attended several FBI seminars in kidnap and hostage situations. Some of my community programs that I've been involved with are the Skywarn Tornado Alert System when it first went in. the transportation and safety concerns related to the Monroe County Community School Corporation, in which I sit on a safety board that looks over school bus dangerous areas, safety programs that we can improve for the children. I've served as investigator for the Monroe County Traffic Commission, which engulfs in the entire Monroe County. Complaints that come in, I usually go out and investigate and make recommendations to the Traffic Commission. And I've served as a traffic safety and accident prevention training officer within our department. I have actually 8 years experience with the Sheriff's Department. I started out as a dispatcher, worked myself up to a road deputy position, then into a shift sergeant's position, and now into the department's investigative division as a detective sergeant. In 8 years, I believe this is quite an area to cover and helps qualify me even more for the job.
I'd like to continue the same policies we have now. I'd like to increase the training requirements for the department. At this point, we've got over 1,000 hours of training for our personnel. I'd like to continue our crisis intervention program. I'd like to also expand on our crime prevention programs that we're just now beginning to develop in the community. We have plans to install new personnel records and system and management system, and basically just continue the type of law enforcement we've had for the last 4 years.
I have 4 basic objectives. Effective utilization of our manpower and equipment. This is dealing with each individual officer having his own squad car, doing more than just what is assigned to him. Second would be extensive rural patrol and security checks. Thirdly, I'd like to implement professional in-service training. In this area, I'd like to present a professional jail staff so it would reduce deterioration of the jail, tearing it up and things like this. Also other training for the officers, ongoing training. And also I'd like to set up a county resident crime prevention program, which based on a neighbor, watch neighbor type program, where if you're gone, your neighbor will watch your house and will call the police, and vice versa. Or scratch one back, will scratch the other.
What do you feel are the most serious law enforcement problems facing the Monroe County Sheriff's Department at the present time?
I think the most serious problems that we're faced with this time are property crimes, crime against property, personal property, where house burglaries, vandalism has seemed to really have taken a sharp increase over the past few years. So I would think that basically these are our more serious problems here in the community.
At the present time, I believe that there are an increased amount of home burglaries and business burglaries. I think this is one of our major concerns. Then we'll go into like the traffic areas of drunk driving, different minor violations like that.
How do you propose to deal with these problems?
Well, I think what we've got to do is, our personnel problem now, our calls have increased over the past 10 years. We've done a survey 6 months ago, and in 1969 we answered somewhat over 3,000 complaints from the citizens. Actually sent a law enforcement officer out on over 3,000 complaints. In 1977 we sent officers out on over 9,000 complaints from the citizens with basically the same personnel that we were dealing with back in 1969. I think maybe what we're going to have to see due to the money's problem in the community is probably have a closer or more active role played by our auxiliary unit in the community. We have one of the finest auxiliary police units in the state of Indiana. I think possibly to help on our road patrol and try to curb this increase in vandalism and property crimes, that maybe we're going to have to take a closer look at the auxiliary and utilize them more in our community. And I think too, our crime prevention program, which is headed by Deputy Steve Chambers of the department, if there's anybody in the community interested in the program, then I wish they would contact either myself or Deputy Steve Chambers, and he'd be happy to have a neighborhood program dealing with crimes. We're going to have to get back to the basics, that it's each of us responsibility to protect our property, and he'd be more than happy to set up a program for any addition or any community.
Well, with the burglary rate in Monroe County, what I would hope to do is effectively utilize my men and the equipment, place the men and equipment on the most area of where it's the highest. Daytime burglaries are sky high. When people are home at night, no one breaks in your house. It's when you're gone. So I would like to, implement stages and steps towards this.
What do you feel are the most difficult administrative problems facing the sheriff's office?
The most difficult administrative problems that I see are providing the coverage necessary for the problems we have with the limited staff we have. Our increased demand for paper service for our courts, we've increased our court systems, but not really increased the size of the department. Our workload on just service to the courts. One of our primary functions as a sheriff's department is servants of the court. We serve all the courts in the community, serve all the court papers, the summons, and are responsible for the warrants. So I think that's a very serious administrative problem.
I believe that administrative problems would be just getting the basic structure reset and go from there. We have the sheriff is in command. He has a major underneath him and then captains and sergeants. If each person will do their particular job and follow through on that, there shouldn't be any administrative problems.
What changes, if any, would you make in the physical facilities or operational procedures of the Monroe County Jail?
Well, over the past 3.5 years, we've tried to bring the jail in compliance just with minimum standards of our federal court decisions. As you know, we recently obtained a federal grant and a state grant with some county monies being involved to try to bring the facility up just to minimum standards as required by the federal guidelines. And I think I think we're going to do this, definitely going to do this.
Since going back to the idea of creating a professional jail staff, this would eliminate any deteriorating type damage to the jail. I think that there needs to be an area within the jail either built inside now or attached to it for some type of recreational facility to bring it up to federal standards. We have to have this, it's going to be evident anyhow in the future. I believe that right now this would be the only major structural change. Our heating system is a little bit outdated, but it's been worked on and it's being improved at this time.
How would you improve the present procedures for dealing with juvenile offenders?
So if I understand your question correctly, up until 75 when I took office, juvenile offenders were not completely separated from adult offenders. Now they were separated in the fact they were in one cell block and adults from the other, but they still had voice contact, but they did not have visual contact with them. At that time, well, and since then I've converted my apartment into needed space for juveniles, so we can now keep them completely separate from adult offenders. But I think in dealing with our juvenile offenders, we're going to have to begin to be firm as well as fair to our juvenile problems.
Yeah, right now the police and I feel like our hands are tied in certain areas. Juvenile offenders are brought to the jail. We have to have an okay to lock them up. We can't talk to them separately. We have to have one or both parents there. It's more or less maybe court rulings or whatever that are holding our hands back, but on the whole, after we go through the procedural thing on juveniles, most parents do cooperate and we do get information that we need. Right now it's just that we can't approach a juvenile as an adult and use the same type of procedures that we do on adults.